And welcome back to the Midday Show. It's Monday morning here. We're going to talk about how I was right, which that'll be enjoyable. We're going to talk about Pennsylvania being gross, which we can debate that a little bit. And then we'll get a little more serious. We're going to talk about transgender laws before we talk about the real topic of the day, LeBron James flopping. But Mark, how was your weekend? How are you feeling today? Well,
first of all, when you said we're going to get really serious, I thought you were mentioning LeFlop, and I was like, is that the serious conversation? Well, just before we went on, this is how I feel right now, is we're testing mic levels, and Jeff's like, I think you're just a lot louder than me, which did not sound like a compliment in any way, but that's what we've decided. So other than that, I'm good. It was hot. It was just like, is it me, or did it go from 50 to 90?
No, it is. Well, so not to get off on a tangent. I'm a Jeep person. I have a Wrangler. I take the doors off, the roof off. I went up north 3 days in a row up to Blossburg. And it is amazing the difference just between Williamsport and the northern tier. Like, I would get in the car and it would be 88 degrees. And by the time I got up to the northern tier, it was like 70.
Well, it's because you're almost to Canada.
Yeah, pretty much. Same elevation, right? I think Canada and Blossburg are the same elevation.
Is it? I was gonna say, if you're making this up, I don't know. You've lost me there.
It's pretty high, but I don't know if it's the same elevation. But no, it is, the varying degrees is pretty incredible.
I mean, someone from the South once told me, I asked them what they missed about the South, and they said the seasons. She's like, you don't really have, she's like, you have a lot more fall than spring, but you go very quickly from winter to summer. And I don't ever remember one like this, where it just went from like chilly to 90.
It was quick.
It was real quick.
Are still cold too.
That's
the other crazy part about it.
All right.
I cannot wait to hear about how I'm right.
Well, this is my 17-year-old daughter thinks you're right on the proposal thing. If people weren't listening the other day, I can understand why you skipped this one. You said when you're going to propose as a dude, you have to check. Well, this is the male-female proposal. I don't know how it works in the other worlds.
And just to clarify, this was not when I proposed. These were the things that
Correct.
I've been told are the rules to propose.
Correct, because you have not proposed yet.
Correct.
So as far as we know, maybe you did multiple times and the girls just kept saying no. But you said you're supposed to ask a friend of the soon-to-be fiance, so they can get her nails done. So when you put the ring on and they take pretty as here's a quote from my daughter. Hold on, and I typed this into myself because I wanted to be able to. People want their nails to look pretty for an Instagrammable shot. I did not know Instagrammable was a word. Now I do, but she also went on to say that she read a story about this guy that proposed in Target, and because him and his wife loved Target, or his soon-to-be fiance loved Target so much that they went there, but the fiance had no idea. So she's dressed in like sweats and t-shirt and hair pulled back and totally not ready for the moment. But he had told one of the friends. So the friend shows up and they actually have a picture, which I assume is Instagrammable, where they have it acted so that the fiance is sitting there, but the friend's hand is up there. So it looks like it's on the ring of the fiance, but just so the nails are all pretty, they're using the friend's hand. So it's it apparently it is. And apparently you are right, because teenage girls agree with you. And whenever you're looking for intellectual validation, you head to teenage girls.
I do think this is where I think it shifted. It's just the picture almost matters more than the moment now.
Let me ask you this. And I'm only asking this, I'm phrasing it in the form of a question, but I know the answer. What did your girlfriend think of this?
She actually said that for her, she said,
I think the word stupid came out.
I don't want to use, I can't remember verbatim.
I think it was stupid.
But I think she said something about she wouldn't care. But she is also somebody like, I think she's emotional is not the word. She is somebody who very much appreciates moments. So the conflicting part there is she's big on pictures, like the moment, like we'll have it. It's a picture, like you need it. But she's also very big in like getting swept up in what's happening and being involved in what's happening. So if she's being proposed to, I think she wouldn't be thinking, oh, the picture. She would be more involved. But if it was her friend getting proposed to, she would be like, oh my God, her nails aren't done. Oh my gosh, there's not going to be a picture. So I think it just depends on which side you're in. I think for her, if she's involved, she's not even thinking about it. She's just excited she's being proposed to in the moment and getting swept up in it. But if it's one of her friends, I think she would be all about it. I think she would be about getting them prepped and ready. And
is there any chance in the moment she's thinking, oh my God, this is the best I could do?
Well, am I proposing?
Yes.
I don't know. This is the funny part about it. This is the part about proposal. I've never thought about her reaction. I've only ever thought about mine.
And why you haven't done it yet?
I've only ever thought about my proposal and like, how do I want to do it? How would I do it? And then like, what would be my reaction afterwards? It's never even crossed my mind the idea of like, would she say no? How would she feel? Like, I don't know. I've just never thought about it.
Oh, I think she'll say yes and then sob later.
You think so?
Like, this is my lot in life. This is it. Got to do.
That was like it was like a doom and gloom.
I got a dude for Blossberg. No, like that's what hers is going to be.
For hers, I got to do it for Bloss.
I meant to say dude, and I don't know what came out.
That says I got.
No, I got a dude from Blossberg is what I tried to say. If that's not how it came out, but
Heather says it must be generational. I think the picture taking has made it generational. I think the fact now that everyone has a camera and everybody has social media, I think pictures has made it generational.
I will say this. That's one of the things that I depends on the chick. See, if I would have said chick, people would have yelled at me. One of the great things about technology, because I realize it would be harder to grow up now with all the social media, kids. Not just is life literally more dangerous because we see the online predators, but we all would have, I mean, just imagine the stupid things that we would have posted if we were 15 years old. And so I get it. The one beauty that I'm incredibly jealous of is the fact that they all have a camera in their pocket all the time, and they're going to have so many thousands of more pictures, millions of more pictures. But that is the part, because you get a lot. Like I was in a golf tournament the other day for Montoursville football, and we were riding along, and there's this big snapping turtle. I should have loaded it up, and so I just hold on and I stopped the cart and I ran out and I just took a picture of it, and I mean, this thing was older than you, dude. This thing was huge.
Yeah, of course it was older than me.
So anyway, yeah, so I am jealous of the picture thing, but so just to go back, maybe propose to your girlfriend and find out. See, I don't know if she wants that. I think she's just humoring you.
No, and then Blossberg has in Tioga County, the one and only, Blossberg, Tioga County, Pennsylvania. Yeah, so we'll see. I've never thought about it from the other person's. I mean, that's a selfish way to look at it, but I've never thought about making sure it's nice for the other person, but I've never thought about like, what will their reaction be?
Well, I think when you're at that point, you're not asking like, do you want to go out to dinner or not? You're wondering what the answer is. Like, you're throwing it out there because it's a slam dunk. I would hope. I
hate rejection. So yes, I'm probably only throwing it out there if I'm 100% sure.
I don't know. I was there when the conversation took place. His girlfriend said that is stupid.
Yeah, but I think that's because it wasn't her.
No. She's right, and it's stupid.
We'll see. Gross, Pennsylvania. You told me this.
I saw this. I pulled it. Hold on.
Wasn't terribly. So you're going to tell me the statistic. I'm going to explain why I wasn't surprised, and then you have me guess what states actually topped Pennsylvania.
Yes, and now I have to find it.
It's riveting, because this did not shock me at all. Actually, when you told me the statistic, I think that doesn't surprise me at all.
All right, hold on. Why am I? All right, here it is. Do I not have the article? Oh, geez. Okay, I do remember what was number one. Yes. So where did you tell them where?
No, I haven't said anything about the ring.
Oh, okay. According to, so I just took a screenshot of it. I don't know. I'm from CBS Pittsburgh. If you Google study ranks Pennsylvania as the 4th grossest state in the U.S.
Okay.
4th grossest.
Before I give mine, we're surprised.
Well, yes, because we're very green. Like as you fly over Pennsylvania, and you say it's still like 65% wooded.
I get that. No one is that side of Pennsylvania when they're driving through it. When they drive through Pennsylvania, they see the coal region.
That's fair. That's fair.
They see the old Pittsburgh. They don't see what you're describing when you're looking out the side of the plane.
That's fair.
I have said for years, I'll sound old and curmudgeon-y for a second. We do not fix anything in the state of Pennsylvania. We do not rebuild anything in the state of Pennsylvania. Everything in our infrastructure is old. Everything. And when you drive through some of these other states, it is so much, the communities are so much nicer and cleaner. And I love Pennsylvania, but again, we do not rebuild communities. We do not rebuild infrastructure. It does not shock me at all that if somebody drove through Pennsylvania and drove through some of our towns and communities, that they would say we're one of the grossest states in America. And that's frustrating to me because what you hinted at, it is a beautiful state.
Yeah, and this is just something being from here and just seeing it your whole life. I had someone who's from outside of here who said, when you take 180 around Williamsport, they said, please do something with the old Bethlehem steel plant because you just drive by and it is this eyesore. Put up a freaking wall, do something with it. But of all that you see this old, burned out almost factory yard, and you see it the whole way. So anyway, it is unfortunate because you're right, and there's so many places. It is such a beautiful state naturally. But anyway, so we were number 4. Guess who was 1? I think 1, 2, and 3. There are at least 3 of the top 5. I know who was 1.
My first guess, and this could be wrong, but it's just the idea of swampy, sweaty, stinky. My first guess would be that southern belt, Florida, Alabama.
That would have been mine too. That would have been mine too, and it's not it.
And it's not. Okay. Because you hear the word gross. That was the first.
The thing that shocked me, and this state is different when you kind of think of all the, and what's like Pennsylvania. There's a big difference between Philadelphia and rural North Central PA. They're just like night and day, but we're all in the same state. This state kind of has a hoity-toity feel to it, especially kind of election time.
Like New Hampshire, Massachusetts.
Almost, but not.
But not. See, I don't think of any of those states as being gross.
No, and I didn't think of this one as being gross too.
Ohio?
Virginia.
As gross. Now, see, West Virginia wouldn't have surprised me.
No. Now, I do know Southern Virginia, you get down to the Newport News area, and I saw the Michael Vick documentary, and that's the only reason I know, that there's very poor section. See, I picture Virginia up around D.C. and the whole, that's why I thought Virginia was 1.
That could be it too, though, because if your juxtaposition, if your comparison is D.C., you're going to seem grosser maybe than what you actually are.
Maybe.
That's what you're being compared to.
Maybe. You just threw juxtaposition out there without missing a beat.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That was well done.
I did. So do you remember 2 and 3?
Of the top 5, North and South Carolina were both there. I'm not sure if they were 2 and 3, but they were there.
That's interesting because I think most of North Carolina is pretty nice.
That's what I thought too.
Now I've driven through to get to Topsail, North Carolina. I have gone through let's call it the outskirts of North Carolina. And it's pretty brutal. There's some stretches through North Carolina that you're shocked. You're leaving Cary, North Carolina, and 10 minutes later, you're kind of what just happened? But I'm surprised that made top 5. I would not have picked the Carolinas as top 5.
It's interesting that I'm not sure you would call North and South Carolina mid-Atlantic. They're more, but it is that region, because you get up in New England and then everything's all none of those.
Yeah.
You get out west, and of course you've got the Rockies, and you've got.
Sure.
But I would have thought maybe deserts. I would have thought New Mexico-ish.
But this is the thing: is everything out there is new.
Correct.
Everything. Like,
Correct.
There's just very few buildings and infrastructure you go around out there that's not brand new. Like, it's just everything's cleaner and slicker and nice. It is.
So I was surprised. I was really surprised because Virginia is for lovers. I've seen it on 1,000 T-shirts.
Yeah. I could have seen Ohio just because of like the whole Cleveland.
Yes.
Lake,
Akron. Yes.
Like I could have even I've heard parts of Cincinnati are not like great. So I could have seen Ohio. That was kind of where, and then I thought about the cold. Like I thought about like North Dakota, like places like that where it's just like it's cold, it's barren. Industry, like just kind of like. I
was back with you. I was in South. I'm thinking Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama. That's where I thought, but none of them.
Gross isn't the connotation of gross changes because I don't think I would have picked those states if the word wasn't gross.
See, I think, and you're right. It's the word because my thought is just sweaty and humid.
Yes.
But not the actual place itself.
Correct.
I think of the oppressive heat, and just, I mean, I think of like Louisiana, Mississippi. I just think of like melting right there in the sea.
Here's just a couple real quick before we spin the wheel. If Puerto Rico was a state, it would definitely make top 5.
That's not fair.
Maryland had to be number 2. I'm surprised. I've always been kind of impressed with Maryland. I've always thought Maryland was kind of a cleaner state. But again, I'm not seeing like the outskirts of it.
Well, what's interesting of Maryland is the whole state is essentially Baltimore. I mean, there's Annapolis and then there's Ocean City. And that's so.
There's something about the coast that makes me think you're not as gross as maybe you are as a state. Maybe that's a very Pennsylvania way of thinking, like just the fact that you have a coast. How about New Jersey not coming out of either of our mouths? Now that
well, I think maybe New Jersey's not because it has so much money. Because New Jersey's either a suburb of Philly or a suburb of New York, and it's got a lot of money.
Yeah, but people have like a gross New Jersey connotation. Like there are
the swamps of Jersey. I don't know what that means, but
there are people who view it that way.
I don't know. I was really surprised that Pennsylvania. And again, being here, and you're right. I do understand what you're saying, infrastructure-wise, and depending on with coal country but. Just the natural stuff of Pennsylvania. It's much more beautiful than most states.
I think there's just a faction of people that never see it.
I think you're right. I think you are right.
They never see it. Leave Bethlehem alone. Billy Joel even made a song about it. And then
no, that was Allentown.
And then Mark, are you making PA gross? Which I don't know.
Who put that? That was kind of funny. That was pretty funny. That was well done. The answer is no, but that was funny.
That was a good one. That was a good topic. I hadn't thought about that much at all. What do you think is the least gross state?
I was thinking that too.
Like what's the opposite word for gross?
I'm almost thinking pristine.
Pristine, okay.
Alaska?
Oh.
I would think one that is not messed up by humans. And that would have to be the most scenic state. Wouldn't it?
Yes, but it's almost like cheating in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
A little bit.
It's
just because it's nothing against Alaska. It's just not one of the
right.
The 48. So
did you? I got to tell you this story. Of course, Lefty Driesell, who was the old basketball. He was at Maryland for a while. And they always talked about. He went to Duke actually. Okay. He's a Duke graduate, so you'd think he's smart. But he was this big bald guy who kind of talked with us, and he just did not impress you as being a genius. Yeah. And they went one year to the Great Alaskan Shootout in a preseason tournament and did not do well. Yeah. And they said to him, they said something, and Lefty says, "That's the last time we leave the United States." And they said, "Lefty, Alaska's in the United States." And at the press conference, he goes, "Well, you know what I mean, the real United States."
I've always wondered how people, obviously it's how Lefty got the name Lefty,
right.
But I've always wondered, people who got those they're not generic nicknames, but they're names that have something to do with your physicality, or like Lefty, Snappy, like those names back in the day where it had something to do with like, I don't know.
Tony Lip.
What's that?
Tony Lip.
Yes. Like just names that had like physical appearance attached to it or physical, like Speedy.
Yes.
Like guys that had those names.
They said too, this is just a story of obviously student sections. And you know how student sections can be ruthless, but they're fun and they can play. And they used to be all over him when Maryland played at Duke. And he was bald. He was just and apparently he went out one day in front of the student section, had one of those big combs in his pocket. And he just went out and combed his bald head in front of it and like won the student section over just like that. Like, how do you be mad at a bald guy who's combing his bald head?
You can't. My favorite still is Tiny. Like whenever you see a big guy and they call him Tiny, that is like the best ever.
Yep. Skinny?
Skinny's.
Yeah.
They're so popular. We need to bring those back. For some reason, they don't exist anymore.
That's true. That's true.
We need to bring them back.
All right. We ready?
Yeah, go ahead and take Weis Markets.
All right. Thank you to Weis Markets for sponsoring us through here, the Midday Show. I'm sure as the summer comes along and as the picnics are coming along, as you're getting ready for next week or next Monday's Memorial Day, we will be here. But as you're getting ready for Memorial Day and stuff, Weis Markets has everything indoor, outdoor, but they have furniture. They have, the tiki torches. They have all kinds of stuff that you can get there as we get ready for summer, as summer has arrived in full force. And I bought my gigantic bottle of sunscreen the other day. So, and plus all your grocery, pharmacy, flowers, bakery, seafood, all your needs. So thank you to Weis Markets. And we got 3 gift cards from Weis, $25, $50, $100 gift cards. We got the Eat and Run Catering. We have the Moon and Raven, and we have the Break Room. And this week, I'm having a big week. Last week, I was 0 for all week, wasn't I? Didn't I go for 5?
You were not kind to the people.
3 for 5 this week. I'm calling it right now. 3 for 5. Somebody's winning today. I don't know what they're winning, but they're winning something.
You want to call your shot?
$50 gift card is what I'm hitting today.
Babe Ruth
I'm going to call it here. And it's right down here. Here it is. That's coming up.
Calling a shot.
I'm ready. Who's winning it?
Here we go. Today's random winner from the Facebook group, The Midday Show, is...
You're welcome.
Brian King.
Brian King is going to be $50 Weis Markets richer. Are we ready?
Ready.
Here it is.
Oh, all right.
Oh, break room.
Here we go. Break room.
Off to the break room for Brian King. That is good. We haven't given one of those away in a while. That was good. I told you. 3 for 5. 3 for 5.
We should escort Brian to the break room.
We should do that.
We should do that.
We should do that.
We should finally do that. Let's try to reach out to Brian and let's see if we can do this.
We should. All right. What's up next?
Transgender laws. So I came to you with this because I was surprised a little bit. There's articles floating around the internet, and more of the GOP states are trying to push these anti-transgender bills. Tennessee has kind of started to lead the way online as far as being anti-transgender with the bills that are being put in place. I started reading through them, and I felt like it wasn't as transparent as the articles were making it out to be, meaning the headline to the actual article to the bills and the things that were actually being putting in place. So obviously it's a finicky subject, it's a touchy subject. Anytime you're discussing human rights, it's hard to always necessarily cover all the bases and try to sound reasonable about them. I will say though, as we go through this, I was surprised that Tennessee is taking as much flack as they are taking.
Well, we have talked here multiple times about the sensationalism of headlines just to try to get clicks because there's so much competition for news. And you're right. When you read it, what's it? Tennessee leading the way in anti...
The actual headline on some of these, the one that's in front of you right now, Tennessee moves to the forefront with anti-transgender laws. That one's
right
on NBC. There was another article, I believe, put out by Vice that said something about them leading the way and being anti-transgender laws. And those headlines, like when you click on them, you're just expecting like the worst.
Horrific.
Right. And so when I started reading through the bills, and I guess what I'll do is I'll read them to you, and then we can start going through some of them. The first bill, and I want to read it because I want to get it correct. Tennessee this year is going to ban transgender athletes from playing girls' public high school or middle school sports. The state is poised to become the first to require government buildings and businesses that are open to the public to post signs that let trans people use bathrooms to be multi-purpose bathrooms rather than associated with a gender identity. And then the last one in here that they talked about was public schools will be giving alert to parents 30 days before students are taught about sexual orientation or gender identity, letting them have the option to opt out of the lesson.
Okay. So here we go.
Go ahead.
Points 1 and 3, because I think they're the simplest. The transgender sports in public schools, public high schools and middle schools,
Correct.
that is going to happen everywhere. Okay, maybe not everywhere. Tennessee might be the first. It ain't going to be the last. And as we talked about before, just as, marijuana became legal in one state and then spread, and gay marriage became legal in one state and then spread, and now it's very normalized. I think this is going to be normalized, that that people who transitioned from male to female are not going to be able to compete at the junior high or high school level as a female. So Tennessee can take whatever abuse they want to take.
Sure.
I think they're the first, and I'm not against this. I've been in favor of this for a long time. The third one. Oh, go ahead.
Let's go right down the list. So, because building off of what you're saying, I think what you're going to see is they can still play sports.
Correct.
And I use the example, like, there are lots of things we use as levels or the line of who plays where and who does what. Sometimes we use geography, sometimes we use age, sometimes we use fairness. Like here in Pennsylvania, we have the competitive level where if you win too much, they bump you up a level, even though you might be a smaller school.
Did they bump the Lancers up?
Not yet.
Okay.
I know that those aren't necessarily human right issues. You could argue ageism might be one. But we break up these sports in fairness levels constantly. I don't think that one is necessarily against transgenders. They're still able to play sports. They're just trying to figure out, how do we make this fair? How do we do this at a level that's reasonable?
I agree.
Okay, so that's the first one.
Right.
Tennessee's kind of getting slapped around for it. The second one, well, let's go to the third one.
Well, let me say this too before we run away from that. I think the vast majority of people will agree with that law, whether they're on the right or the left. I don't think that the left is going to come out and, that's where we're divided between the conservatives and the liberals. I think the vast majority of liberals do not think it's fair that, these guys these people who have transitioned from men to women are winning wrestling tournaments and powerlifting tournaments and track meets. And I don't think that this is going to come up. There will be articles like this for headlines, but across the board, I would bet even Democrats are in favor of this.
I do not disagree with that. So the third one is they have to have a 30-day, parents at school districts get a 30-day notice to be alerted about lessons on sexual orientation or gender identity. And then they have the option to opt out their students on that lesson.
I think that's fine, because what grade are we talking about? High school? Like if you're in high school, you might not need a month, and if you're a 17-year-old kid, you could probably have this discussion. Are we talking fourth graders? Are we talking sixth grade? I think that's a fine rule.
I also think you're not excluding anybody from that bill or that law. That regardless of if you're the parent, if you're a parent of a trans student, if you're a parent of a female student, of a male student, every single one of you is getting the 30-day notice, and you're getting the option to opt out if you feel it's reasonable for you and your child. So correct. I just don't feel like it's a bill that's exclusion. It's not excluding anybody.
And I think too, we want education on this, because this is obviously a part of society now that is it was a part of society before, but it's much more prevalent. It's much more out in the open. So we want to educate our kids about it. But it's different to us, because in our generation, we didn't have this stuff. They didn't explain gender, sexuality, identity, all this stuff in school. So I think the 30 days also gives a chance for the parents to say, like me as a parent, I've got a kid in middle school, I got a kid in high school. I'm all in favor of it. I am curious what you're going to say. Like, what is it? I mean, maybe they can forward stuff, email it up front. I don't know. Like, I am in favor of it. But since we didn't have it in school, I don't know what this sounds or looks like. So I don't have any issue with the 30 days either.
And then the second one, so this is the one where you said it gets tricky, for lack of a better word. and I'll read it the exact way one more time because, again, I don't want to mess it up. The state is poised to become the first to require government buildings and businesses that are open to the public to post signs if they let trans people use bathrooms that show multi-person and other facilities associated with their gender identity. So how I'm taking that, and if I'm misunderstanding this, I apologize. I am taking that as basically if you have a male bathroom or a female bathroom, they're basically saying if trans people are using it, male to female, female to male, they are multi-person bathrooms.
Yeah.
Meaning that a female, a male, a trans, anybody can use the bathroom. It is multi-person use.
This is one I think that someone would have to educate us on, because as you said, maybe we just don't understand it. It seems like to you said there's signs that say male, female, or there's a person in a skirt, there's a person not in a skirt, so there'll be another sign for trans. Again, I'm not sure I don't know. I'm not sure how this is horrific either.
This is what someone would have to explain to me, is the difference between a trans bathroom and a multi-person bathroom.
Right.
I would need it to be explained to me how letting everybody use the bathroom would come off as a negative thing or would be a negative bill. Now, if they're going to come up with like a little symbol and the symbol's offensive or the sign's offensive or something, I get that. I really do. But as far as like having a multi-person bathroom where it's basically saying, when you look at where the country was 60, 70, 80 years ago, and the idea of like putting up signs that basically say like this is for everybody, like this is multi-person bathrooms, I don't know. Like to me, it's not an exclusion bill as well. So unless they're planning to introduce the bill, and people and business owners in Tennessee are going to say, well, we don't want to put up those signs, so trans can't use this bathroom.
But it's only government. It's only government buildings.
And businesses.
I thought it...
Government buildings and businesses.
Oh, I thought it meant government businesses, like a liquor store.
It's government buildings and businesses.
Oh, okay, then that could be different.
So unless they're introducing this bill because they're hoping that business owners in the state of Tennessee will go, well, we don't want to put up those signs, so trans can't use our bathrooms. Now it's an issue. Like now there's a real problem. But if business owners in the state of Pennsylvania are, okay, our bathroom's multi-person, everyone can use it, I just don't see how it's an excluding bill. And like you said, somebody much smarter than us could probably come on and maybe explain it deeper. But the point of this whole thing, to wrap it up, was I read through that, and I'm not really sure why Tennessee is being condemned the way they are based off of the 5 bills that I read.
I agree. And it's a sensationalized art headline to get clicks. But here's one of that we talked about with the athletics, the bathroom issue. It's going to be like that too. As we're 20 years from now, public bathrooms it's going to be whether there's trans signs on them, whether they have whether a lot of these new buildings now create 3 bathrooms and they have men, women, and trans. I don't know, but the world is changing, and Tennessee's just first.
I think Tennessee's the first. Let's not get it twisted. I do think Tennessee's going about it in a conservative manner.
Correct.
I don't want to give Tennessee credit like they're this progressive state who's like leading the way in transgender rights. I just think to come out and say like they're leading the way in anti-transgender laws, a lot of those, and maybe we're missing something. Like I said, if the trick here was business owners in Tennessee are not going to go along with it and they're going to instead ban transgenders from their bathroom, that's one thing. But that's not the way the bill reads. The way it reads, it sounds as if they're going to have the opportunity to use signage to basically say, this is a multi-person bathroom, this is a transgender bathroom. I don't know. I
agree. And one of the other things too is different states will come up with different laws and different rules, and then as a society we'll kind of piece through and see which ones work better and which ones work worse, and they'll blend, and that's the way it does with everything.
The bathroom thing's going to be, I hate using the word fascinating for this, it's going to be interesting to see how it's resolved as we move forward.
I agree.
Because it's just not as simple as it used to be, and it's going to become something where, the simplest solution is to just have multi-person bathrooms across the country, but they'd have to be individualized. What about mass events? What about places? So you're not going to be able to do that at every facility. It's just not reasonable to do it at every facility.
Right.
So it's curious what the solution's going to be.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
It really is. Let's go to LeFlop. Lots of things here. First of all, have you seen the memes? Like, have you seen some of them?
No, I've heard though.
Okay. Was your son talking about?
Well, I was in the car. My son told me he's rattling off it because we've joked before. You know, I think I said the other day, LeBron. Oh, because you talked about he got poked the other day and he got poked again yesterday, right? Isn't that how it worked?
He got in the play-in
game when he hit the three.
He got poked in the eye. He laid on the ground for probably I think it was like a minute and a half. I mean, to say 90 seconds would not be an exaggeration. But your son saw the post about the baseball hitter being by the pitch.
Well, I joked, when we were talking about it last week that there are, LeBron, and I love LeBron, but the biggest knock I have against LeBron is, if somebody nibbles on his ear, he lays on the ground and he wants you to think that his very survival hangs in the balance. And my son was reading these meme stats that some baseball player got hit in the face with a fastball and he was down for 50 some or 60 some seconds, and then Joe Burrows blew out every ligament in his knee and he was on the ground for 78 seconds. LeBron got poked in the eye and he was on the ground for longer than them. Now, basketball players are divas. They are whether you want attention whores, heritage. I've seen guys. I saw Chris Webber leave the first half on crutches and start the second half. I saw Paul Pierce in a wheelchair. It is incredible. And I can this is what I don't get. If one of the kids on our team would have been wheelchaired and then got up and played, like we were at this, evangelical revival and you are healed. We would have taken so much abuse that I don't know why Paul Pierce just isn't humiliated to this day, to the point that he doesn't leave his house. But they this is what they do. If LeBron if he goes horizontal on the floor, you might as well cut to a commercial because he is going to be there for a long, long time.
LeBron is just becoming even. I remember thinking for a while, Karl Malone and different people were very polarizing because they were these great athletes, but yet they never came off the right way. They, past history, bad things like that. LeBron is just getting to a point where what people want him to represent doesn't necessarily align with who he is. He is a phenomenal basketball player. Maybe, to some people, the best ever, right? But the problem is people want to attach more to him, and that's just not him. It's just not who
he's attached a lot. I think societally he's done well. I think
he's done well, but people want him to be like a messiah, and he's
well.
And people want him to be like this tough, but he's not.
He is not.
No. So it's just it's not about saying he's not a phenomenal basketball player. It's not even about saying he's not a phenomenal person. The problem, though, is when you start to attach these Messiah-like things to him, whether it's in society or in basketball or whatever else, there's too many cameras, there's too many microphones, there's too many things in today's world to hold up that idea. There's just too much being held up on him. In the last 3 weeks, first of all, he didn't play the entire last half of the season. He then said that whoever created the play-in tournament should be fired the moment the Lakers were in the play-in tournament. Do you remember that?
I remember you brought it up.
And last year, he said it was a great idea. He was really excited about it. It's a great idea. The moment the Lakers are the 7th seed and they're in their play-in, all of a sudden that person should be fired. Then he plays the Warriors, gets poked on the eye, rolls around on the ground, says he was seeing three rims when he took the final shot. He aimed at the middle one, it went in. And then I don't know if you saw, he broke health and safety protocol. Did you see this?
I didn't see that, no.
So he broke COVID health and safety protocol. He went and did some photo shoot with Drake and a bunch of other famous people for some commercial. And he wasn't fined. He wasn't suspended. Nothing. There are numerous cases of players that have been fined. Karis LeVert wasn't allowed to play for the Pacers in either play-in game because he broke health and safety protocol. Last year, Lou Williams was suspended and fined because he broke health and safety protocol. You have all these players who weren't allowed to play because they didn't follow the COVID regulations within the NBA. LeBron breaks it, plays in the play-in game, plays in the first game of the playoffs against the Phoenix Suns, and it's so he just hasn't. He's put himself in a position where he can become very unlikable if you're looking for reasons not to like him.
I just wish he'd get off the floor quicker when he got it. I mean, when he was a little kid and he went down and started crying, there was never an adult around who said, "Oh, no, you're okay. Get up, you're okay." They must have just let him. They must have probably curled down on the ground next to him and cried with him, because I have never seen a big. But it's all of basketball. Like I said, Chris Webber was not a little guy. He was not an untough guy. But they. Oh my gosh.
But he was the number 1 recruit in the country, and he was the number 1 draft pick. And when's the last time you think somebody told Chris Webber he was lying? Like, when's the last time you think somebody, like when LeBron said he wasn't feeling well?
But doesn't
he was like, I'm just saying.
Doesn't Jalen Rose look at him and say, "Get up"? Like, there has to be one tough guy on the floor that says, "Get up, you little girl."
But I think people do. I think there are people who do. I think the question is, like, are the people closest to him doing that? And probably not. Like, why would you?
I guess. Why would you? Because of this.
Did you see the last one? He hurt his shoulder on Sunday.
Okay.
Saturday or Sunday. It was Sunday. So yesterday he gets his shoulder hurt, and he did. Like, it got tugged on. Like, it was pretty rough. He's holding his shoulder at the free throw line. Meanwhile, there's a fight over on the sideline. So all the cameras and all the fans and everything's focused on this one sideline where the guys are pushing each other and the one guy threw the ball at the other player, right? Without missing a beat. And I don't know if he did it subconsciously or not. He looks up, and they did it in slow-mo. They were making fun of him. He looks up, notices everyone's looking over at the scrum. And as the scrum starts to break up, LeBron's walking over towards the sideline, and he goes down on one knee and holds his shoulder over where all the cameras and everybody was just looking. And it is like, now, do I think LeBron James was doing that intentionally? No. But, exactly, he's done so many other things that all of a sudden you start questioning yourself. You start to say, like, did he really just walk over there because that's where all the cameras were so he could hold his shoulder? And so everybody knew he hurt his shoulder.
And take a knee.
Yeah. You got to watch it because it is.
I will find it. That is awesome. Incredible. And again, I love LeBron. Love LeBron. He is a drama queen. He is ready for the stage. I need to see that one. So you're like, I hurt my shoulder. I'm not getting any attention. I need to go over where the attention is, and there's a fight. So now I need to go down to a knee to make sure that I get more attention, because just going like this isn't really going to do it. It's not going to do it.
It was weird. It makes you wonder. Let's put it that way.
Maybe he's ready for the WWE when it's all over.
And this is the other part too. He only does it when they're losing. He never, like, if the Lakers are up 15, he has never gotten hit and laid on the floor, ever. But when they're down 5 to the Warriors in a play-in game and he gets poked in the eye, he's like, when they're down 10 to the Suns in the first game of the playoffs and it's, like my shoulder. If they were beating the Suns by 15, he would tomahawk it over somebody and storm down the floor with, like, grunting. And so it's just
like you used to do.
Yeah. So he's just put himself in a position where if you're looking for something, if you want to
No, I get what you're saying.
He does it. Because, again, he is unbelievable. He's
unbelievable.
Phenomenal basketball.
Unbelievable.
He made some passes the other day that he's seeing stuff 4 seconds before anybody even knows what's happening. It's insane.
He is somewhat talented.
Somewhat talented. All right. Anything else?
Nope.
You said you didn't know the Knicks were in there.
That's all I got. I didn't know the Knicks were in the playoffs. Phil Mickelson, congratulations to him.
That's right.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching the Midday Show today. Thank you to Weis Markets. Be sure to go there for all your grocery needs. And thank you to NorthcentralPa.com. Be sure to go there for all your local news. I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Thanks for watching the Midday Show.